This is Randolph Macias with the Uncensored Voice. Welcome back to the show, guys. Today I have Kevin Roshanaie. Welcome to the Uncensored Voice.
Thank you
for offering your home for me to do the interview. Since I like a studio, which is forthcoming, by the way, we're enjoying this beautiful morning. Fall has certainly arrived in the Alamo City, and it is beautiful outside right now. Hardly any humidity. What do you think?
Yep.
Kevin is a precinct chairman with the Bexar County Republican Party, and I'm also a fellow precinct chairman as well. His is on the southeast side of San Antonio. Mine is near the Leon Valley area. Mm-hmm. And Kevin wanted to opine and talk a little bit about what's going on with current events. And let's start with Afghanistan. I think there's 13 members of our service were killed unnecessarily due to the Biden administration being grossly incompetent, not only getting their lives forfeited for their country, which I salute them as heroes. A Navy hospitalman, we had an Army and multiple Marines, and Marines hit.
And all young too.
Pardon?
All young.
Very young. Some of them have not even reached their 20th birthday yet, and they gave their lives for their country. Yep. So to them, I salute and I take my hat off. I say, God bless them, God bless their families. It was my understanding that one of the parents of one of the Army service members did not want Joe Biden anywhere near him. He was very angry because it was very unnecessary. So not only did they get killed, we left Americans behind enemy lines, and any American that wants to be out of Afghanistan and is being held against their will is considered a hostage, contrary to what the mainstream media is ignoring on that particular term. Sean Hannity said it best. They are American hostages. We have a hostage situation.
Yes, and right now, I believe there are several members of Congress who are working to bring evacuees home. Congressman Darrell Issa, I know, he's brought home several. Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma. A few others have been sending charter flights.
I heard some of them were actually grounded by the Biden administration. Is this true? Have you heard about that?
I've heard some stuff, but I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday night. I was watching Hannity, and Darrell Issa was on. Congressman Issa was on there, and he says we've safely evacuated some evacuees who contacted my office.
Right, and so why? Well, my question is, why, for one, are you prohibiting the Americans or proper visa holders from leaving Kabul airport? For one, do they have to be the only ones to do it? Because the Biden administration certainly is not doing it.
So I think what it has to do with Afghanistan is you have a president who's had a failed foreign policy even when he was a member of the Senate. He voted. He has a famous video of him on YouTube. Anybody can go up and look at it. He's chairing the Foreign Relations Committee, and he calls the Iraq War a quagmire, an abysmal failure. Well, a man who's never had any foreign policy plan. You can read Secretary Bob Gates's book. He said he was against the killing of bin Laden. He was against the surge of Afghanistan. So he has no foreign policy, and the Biden administration was scared. When they withdrew, they knew it would be an absolute failure, and that they had to do something really quick to alleviate it. And he sent these people he sent our soldiers into a dangerous war zone with no kind of mission.
Exactly. Billions of dollars of military equipment have been left there. You can see how some of the remaining service members are trying to make the equipment inoperable.
Yeah.
And now the Taliban are now putting out propaganda about, look what they left us with. Well, we're not going to leave you with intact equipment, for one. Whether the president wants it left there intact or not, he can't order them to keep it intact when we leave. So that's the best we could do, unfortunately, is he said he wanted service members out. He said the war is over, but now the insurgency is probably just now beginning again.
So the thing is, everybody knows right now, by us pulling out of Afghanistan, we've made Al-Qaeda stronger. We've made ISIS stronger. Iran China, and Russia will now strengthen their footprint in the Middle East now, because you have the Taliban. They're now a governing body of Afghanistan. They are in full control. Iran, China, and Russia they're going to control the arms deals. They're going to send money to the Taliban, and the people who suffer are the Afghan citizens.
Yes, it just came to my attention that live music is now banned in the Taliban-controlled area of Afghanistan, and within 2 days, a very prominent musician, I don't remember his name, but was looked for and executed 2 days after the Taliban came into power.
Wow.
So, but the mainstream media and the people that are involved in the arts here in this country don't give it a story.
Yep.
Because they want to launch the Afghanistan story so much that even one of their own, fellow musician, even over there, is just executed and he's gone. I mean, nobody cares.
So,
to say nothing of the Americans.
I wrote some talking points about Afghanistan
Sure.
that I feel is important. I do feel like this failed withdrawal is the worst foreign policy blunder since the Iran hostage crisis. We can consider this worse than that. And we have a president who basically got rid of a solid, concrete, conditions-based, methodical exit strategy.
Right.
A strategy that had been negotiated between the Trump administration. A strategy that basically said if the Afghan government or the Taliban brought harm to any Americans or American interest, they would feel the full wrath of the military upon them.
Oh yes.
The exit strategy also called for the Afghan government and the Taliban to broker an agreement for an interim joint government, which would have benefited us in the long run, because it would have actually been a democratic, sovereign government.
Right.
Also, this agreement called for the repudiation of Al Qaeda.
Yes, my understanding that the mission in Afghanistan was to keep them out of the main cities and all the major arteries going into those cities, and the Taliban has been biding their time. They knew in time that something was going to happen with our government because of the powers that be, and Joseph Biden took the oath of office unconstitutionally, I might add.
So we know that the sacrifices that were made by our selfless soldiers and the personnel there are now going to be forgotten because we ended a conflict. Now, here's where I disagree with many conservatives, Mike Pence and the Rand Pauls and the Ted Cruzes.
Okay.
I believe a residual military force should have been kept in Afghanistan to stop any uprising of Al Qaeda or ISIS-K or Haqqani network. So having a residual force in the region to prevent. Right now you have countries that are split. Iran's a predominantly Shiite country. Iraq is predominantly Sunni, and then Afghanistan is predominantly, now that the Taliban has come into power, they've now shifted to be Shiites. So
the Taliban are Shia?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay. And so right now, what this does is this causes a class warfare amongst the two sects.
You want to get back to Iraq, Saddam Hussein was a Sunni.
Yes.
And they were the minority in that country.
Yeah.
So therefore as we all know, he's a very brutal man.
Yes.
And so his war was with the Shiites.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the Taliban was probably, I don't think they really liked him. I don't think they liked each other. But he heavily oppressed them, so maybe that kept the Taliban spirit alive all these decades. But in 2001, during September 11th, when we had those attacks, Taliban have harbored Al Qaeda. Yeah. And so, what has happened is one of the people in the so-called Taliban government, if you will, is on our terrorist watch list.
Yeah. And now
they want to recognize the country. No, I don't think so. No, we can't.
And now, Randolph, what happens is, if we recognize the Taliban as a legitimate government, what this does, the power this gives them is a seat at the UN Security Council. It gives them negotiating abilities for the country, and everybody should know we can't trust the Taliban.
No, they are not.
And,
they said they've changed, but I don't think that they're never going to change.
No,
they're just
when you're
they're very smart people.
When you're following a religion that for so long it condones violence against the West. It condones violence against the infidels, as they call us.
That's what they call us.
Yes. So, Sharia law will never be out of the Middle East until you get until a democracy is established in Middle East countries. And see,
it almost happened back in the 70s with the Shah of Iran.
Yeah.
Almost, but then some say the Americans might have helped it move along to be anti-American.
And I just have
some CIA conspiracy.
And I just have 3 points on the refugees that we're admitting here. We don't know who these people are. We're admitting.
We know zero. We know nothing.
We're admitting grown men with their young brides, their 12, 13-year-old brides. We as a country do not allow that in our country right now. Illegal. So why is it the Biden administration, Secretary Blinken and all of them they're condoning this? They're allowing this to happen. I just read this morning in Fort Bliss, a Afghan refugee brutally beat a U.S. female soldier.
I didn't hear about that.
Yep, I heard about that. It happened in Fort Bliss. And the FBI is now investigating it.
Do we have a name of that soldier?
We do not.
This is not the Guillen case, is it?
No.
That's Fort Hood.
This was in Fort Bliss.
Fort Bliss, okay.
Yes. Breitbart News reported on it.
Okay.
This morning.
So that all by itself needs to be investigated.
Yes, and issuing SIVs to these refugees. If people don't know what SIV stands for, Special Immigrant Visas. If we're giving these to Afghans, we need to vet them. We need to find out, do they have affiliations to Al Qaeda? Do they have affiliations to ISIS? What are their intentions of coming to the United States? We are a land of opportunity, I understand, and we're a land of immigrants, but we cannot accept people that we know nothing about into our country.
Yes, well, Jen Psaki has said they are being fully vetted, but it's a fact that Trump expelled a certain individual for sex crimes in the United States.
Hey, he's back here now?
And under the Biden watch, he was not vetted. And if he was, they ignored it. They're taking them in because typically once a refugee arrives in the United States, and naturally their first mission from the Democrats is to get them registered to vote. About 80 to 90% of the time they vote Democrat for the first time.
Yeah.
They know this.
Yes.
The Haitians that have came in by 10,000 plus, that we hear reports of their flights being flown back to Port-au-Prince and all that, but some are just being taken to different ICE processing centers, and some of them just run away. And so there you go with election integrity all over again.
And then on the issue of Afghanistan, we should have known that President Ghani was not a strong figure in the central government because how is it that April of this year the Taliban gained 50 to 60% of all Afghan provinces, and then by August they had full by the middle to end of August they had complete control of the entire country of Afghanistan.
The entire country.
And President Ghani left and went to the United Arab Emirates and claimed.
He claimed asylum?
He claimed asylum there, and they awarded him asylum there.
Now, President Trump is not a big fan of this guy. He says he's as corrupt as they come.
Yes.
And so, naturally, he would be the first to leave because he knew that the Afghan army...
He took all the money that had been invested in Afghanistan by the United States with him.
So we gave the Afghanistan money. He had access to that money. He took the money for himself. That seems to be the case with a lot of corrupt leaders.
Yes, it does.
It happened in Mexico, for crying out loud, with President Salinas de Gortari.
Yeah.
We gave him money, and then he retired in the United States.
The third and final point I want to make about Afghanistan is any president should know this, whether you're Obama, Trump, Biden, Bush, Carter, whoever. In order to end a conflict, there must be a methodical exit strategy, a strategy that has conditions, a strategy that you want to. So, I'll give you an example. So, if I had to make a call to withdraw soldiers out of Afghanistan, I would have sent all my civilian and contractor personnel. I would have flew them out first. Embassy workers, interpreters,
Civilian government contractors.
Yes, I would have flew them out first. I would have then sent out my military. But before I would send them out, I would make sure if we're going to leave equipment behind, blow it up.
President Trump said blow the hell out of it.
Yes, even though it would waste the taxpayer dollars that we've invested in these, I would rather have them blown up than in the hands of the Taliban,
and then kill us later.
For them to be able to use against us.
And Americans are poised now to be harmed with our own weapons.
Yeah, and this shows the failure of the Biden foreign policy when China, Iran, and Russia are laughing right now because
of course they are.
Because
They're
America
taking inventory right now.
Because America has no foreign policy right now. Right now, China can go and invade Taiwan, and we'll do nothing about it.
That's my biggest fear, is that Taiwan is going to be very vulnerable to attack.
Yes.
And like I said, they bide their time. They wait for the right moment to strike. And Trump was a strong president. He said, if you even touch Taiwan, if you even touch or even think about attacking Israel, we're going to rain down on you like hellfire.
And that's why I've said it, I'm going to say it again. Secretary Blinken must resign. Jake Sullivan must resign. Secretary Austin must resign. And I believe President Biden must resign. This was a catastrophic event.
Oh, it was a catastrophic failure.
13
could cause another 9/11.
Yes, 13 Americans died. He has blood on his hands of 13 Americans.
I want to make it a point that some of these young Marines, young service members, did not even live to see their 21st birthday.
Yeah. Riley McCollum.
I mean, God rest their soul.
Yes.
We're so sorry for your loss.
Yes.
To the families out there that may be watching. I did a video of an Echo Taps with all their images. And I want the viewer to see the pain that we are suffering as a country, but this is no match to the pain of the families who lost, and they are very angry with Joe Biden.
Yeah,
because that didn't have to happen.
Riley McCollum, one of the young soldiers, his wife just gave birth to their first baby, and he missed it. David,
his dad was a hero.
David Lee Espinoza, the 20-year-old Marine. I believe he was a corporal or private out of Laredo. He went to school to better his life and better his family's life. And
let me go off on a small tangent on that, because I want to talk about that and the one that was buried in Laredo. What was his name?
David Lee Espinoza.
David Espinoza. I had reached out to. I've heard of other Republican county chairman all around state of Texas, and they were sending flowers, they were sending money to GoFundMe accounts for the family of this fallen Marine. I had reached out to our chairman, John Austin, in a letter, and carbon copied it to our vice chair, Charlotte Eisenhower, and it was a very kind letter. It was very proper, and I said, John, Mr. Chairman, that it would be nice. Is there something that maybe Bexar County Republicans can do to maybe send flowers or to send some type of support to show, especially coming from Military City, USA.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very big title for a city like this to be known as.
Yep.
I said I think it would be a big gesture and a big nod as Military City, USA if we could do this. I got a non-response from the chairman.
Well, and it shows you. And again, this is off topic. It's a tangent. Also, it's a response to your tangent. But we have leadership right now in our county that there's infighting amongst our Republicans here in our county and our leaders, our leadership here at the county level, and I think it's a lack of leadership that we're dealing with right now. If every other Republican chairman of every other county went and sent flowers to this soldier who was killed in Laredo to his family, why didn't Bexar County do it?
Especially being military city USA, I keep on adding that because it's very important.
Especially being military city USA, home to the largest active duty Air Force base in the U.S.
I think it would have been a great gesture of respect.
Yeah.
I did not get a response from the chairman. There's a CEC meeting coming up, I might add.
Yes.
And I might have a chat with the chairman myself as to why there's a non-response to this, because the Marine is dead.
Yes.
And we owe him respect.
Yes.
And we owe him a salute.
We owe each and every one of those 13 members that lost their lives respect.
There's pain going on right now.
And we owe them the respect of having a competent president that
will have their back, hopefully.
That has their back, and that's not going to go and say, okay, well, since my party's in control, I want to cut $800 billion from the defense budget and cripple our military.
That happened under the Obama administration, where they went to aircraft graveyards trying to find parts for their aircraft.
Yes.
And then President Trump, what he did when he came into office, he funded the military to such a level to where he said, we have the newest, most state-of-the-art equipment, brand new. You don't have to worry, you have nothing to worry about. So thank God all that stuff was purchased and we have it now.
Thank God.
But a lot of that now is in Afghanistan.
Yes, it is.
And Joe Biden is to blame.
Yes, it is.
And whoever the woke people that have...
his whole national security team and foreign policy team are all to blame.
Yes. We armed the enemy.
Yes, we armed the enemy, not just with weapons, but we armed them with the names of U.S. contractors.
Well, we gave them names so that the Taliban can target them and find them and kill them.
Yes, and now
they even admitted to that.
And now, the country of Afghanistan is not gonna. There will be no freedoms amongst the women and children in that country. It used to be when we were in that country, women could serve on boards. Women could serve in banks. Women could run for office.
They could drive,
go to school.
Those are basic rights.
Get an education. Now,
there's zero.
Women are going to be forced into hiding. If a woman comes out, the Taliban, they're going to rape her. They're going to take away her.
They have no problem doing that. They have no problem just shooting them in the side of the head if they don't do what they want immediately.
Yes.
And there is no law there.
No.
That Sharia law is not.
Sharia law is what.
That was like 3,000 years ago. I remember.
Yes, and mind you, my father is an Iranian. He was an Iranian immigrant. He came here when the fall of Shah happened. He came here, got his education, put himself through school. He's actually condemned Islam. He says since he's been here and he has seen the freedom that we have here in this country, he doesn't understand how Islam can even be relevant.
Yes. Now, so could you consider yourself a second generation Iranian American? Or?
So me, I'm born and raised in the United States.
But your father immigrated from Iran?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He immigrated here in like I said, it was during the fall of.
The fall of the Shah?
Fall of the Shah, yes.
Now, I'm glad that you said that, because I have direct experience with a family, an Iranian family, that I went to high school with, and he is a second generation Iranian American. His dad and his mom came from Iran because of the fall of the Shah.
Yeah.
And when I'll be very brief on this. He came to high school, just learning English. He had jeans that said "Down with the USA," and I'm like, oh, I don't know if this guy. But what happened is this seems to be the problem with Americans. We're born and raised here. We get used to everything, and the American dream is not so much realized by a natural born American citizen. But what happened in their case is second generation Iranian American. They lived the American dream. They saved their money up over decades, and now he has a very big Mexican restaurant business here in San Antonio and has been doing it now for 20 years.
Wow.
He has realized the American dream, and they escaped the regime of after the fall of the Shah.
Yeah.
They rejected the Ayatollah Khomeini.
Yeah.
But so they're safe in America. They follow the laws. They came here properly.
Yes.
And they're
law-abiding citizens.
They're law-abiding citizens. They contribute to society
Yes.
here in the American way.
Yes.
So God bless you and God bless them for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the immigration system is such as you walk across the river and demand it.
Yes.
No, you need to do it the proper way. We have laws that
we have laws. Yes, we do.
All those laws right now are thrown out the window.
Yep.
Rumor has it that I think 19,000 are on their way from Colombia as we speak. I did some research on this.
I read that too.
The wave of the Haitians is starting to come to an end. They're bringing them in, and some are going back. But now 19,000 more. So what are we gonna do then? We got 3 more years of this guy?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what's gonna happen.
So on the topic of immigration, so I worked for about 5.5 years at the South Texas Family Residential Center in Dilley, Texas. The facility housed family units, head of household mother. So we would get, and I started there at the beginning of 2015, right in the Obama administration.
Yes.
So I was in there from the Obama administration into the Trump administration, and you would be surprised how we actually have immigration attorneys here in the United States that go down to the border and coach these asylum seekers on what to say to bypass our immigration system. So if you look at the asylum laws here in the United States, let's define asylum. Asylum is given to people that are escaping oppression,
Right.
persecution, gender, crimes against genders. If your country's stuck in a war and you're fleeing due to your family, every member of your family has been killed.
Yes, and that was the case with the fall of the Shah.
Yes, and so when I had worked there, we would get women and children crossing, and when you ask them why they're claiming asylum, they would say, "I'm claiming asylum due to my husband abusing me," or
Domestic violence.
Yeah, domestic violence, or due to my parents kicking me out of the house, and no economic opportunities.
Well, then fix your government.
So that, and that's my point. That does not classify as asylum. What we should be doing, I'll give you an example of what classifies for asylum. So I have he's a second or third cousin. He fled Iran in 2018 because he had turned 18 and he went into hiding. And over there in Iran, at the age of 15, they want you to join the military. So he somehow managed to
get out,
to go into hiding from 15 to 18.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So when he turned 18, his parents had him smuggled out of Iran into Turkey. He had a fake passport created for himself to be able to get himself out of Iran into Turkey, and then on board a plane from Turkey into Mexico City. So when he flew into Mexico City, he, knowing no Spanish, just knowing Farsi,
Right.
he asked a taxi cab driver, "Can you drop me off at the Mexico-U.S. border?" They took him to it was Tijuana.
Okay.
Dropped him off in Tijuana. He had all of his clothes they traveled with stolen on his journey here.
Right.
The only thing he had with him was his family. They were Christians in Iran, so he had his Bible with him and his cross.
It was highly prohibited in Iran.
Yes, and when he got to the U.S. border and he crossed over onto the U.S. side, when Border Patrol caught him, he says, I'm here to claim asylum. I'm from Iran. I left due to persecution of my religion and due to the Sharia law of my country. The country being very disorganized.
Right, and that's a valid reason.
Yes,
especially with such a long journey.
Yes, and so he got taken to an immigration detention facility. He was in that facility for a year and a half. Finally got out, obtained legal status here in the United States. Now, the legal status he obtained, he was given political asylum here in the United States because of the persecution of his religion and due to the persecution of them trying to force him to join the military.
Now, that's a good point too, but what I want our viewers to see from what you just said is he showed up to his judicial proceeding.
Yes, he did.
Okay, because a lot of the ones that are coming in right now are being, you promise to show up,
yes.
but they never show up.
So back to me working at, so under the Obama.
Where did you work at exactly?
So the South Texas Family Residential Center in Dilley, Texas.
Okay.
Like I said, it housed, we housed head of household mothers who were here on family units.
Okay.
And so we would, and we saw that every day. They would come, Border Patrol would bring them, we'd process them, and then they would get out on a ADT, alternative detention. And they would be given a paper, please show up on this day at this time to your hearing.
And then majority probably don't even show up.
And majority of them would not show up.
And then they got the liberals on the other hand saying, okay, now that you're in, let's sign you up for all the food stamps and the welfare that you weren't even in the country long enough to pay into.
And these women and children, like I said, they're coached by,
of course,
by different organizations.
Of course.
Some here in San Antonio, Raices, they're a nonprofit.
I think, aren't the Castros connected to that? The Mama Castro, I think.
Yes, and there was a few others who come out and they would come to our facility and would stage up in our courtroom, and they would just tell these women and children how to lie, how to get around, how to take advantage of our laws. And mind you, Randolph, the facility we had was built October of 2014 by the Obama administration to...
That's where the cages came from, right?
No. No.
I mean, I have to talk about that. Okay.
No. This was built by the Obama administration, contracted by, at the time, Corrections Corporation of America, a private prison group. They came in, they contracted it out. It was built there. The purpose of that was to deter family units, because we had been getting a surge of family units at the border, and we couldn't keep up with
especially now it's even overwhelming.
The influx. And so it got built, and at that time did a capacity of 2,500 beds. Okay, per body count. Think about it. ICE was giving my company that I had worked for $350 a body, that equaled up to 2,500.
Yeah, that's how they.
So our government had this nice. It was the size of 2 football fields.
Right, now,
two or three football fields.
That sounds like the same type of company that was identified when I went up to Midland as the Continental Logistics Company. They had property there, and they had built housing for the illegals there, and saw busloads come in. They had one at Lackland Air Force Base on razor wire with an MP president. I don't know why they need all that.
Yeah.
And then we had Freeman Coliseum had a contract for 3 months, I guess, with the city.
Yep.
And since the city is wants to be identified as a sanctuary city, I suppose. I hope we're not, but we probably are becoming one.
We actually are one, because if we remember correctly, when that tractor trailer had
I remember that.
Yes,
McManus released them.
Chief McManus released them at the discretion of Mayor Nirenberg, because he felt sorry for them.
Yeah, that's not the way to do it.
No, and see,
it's called ICE detainer, and we didn't have a local government that was friendly with that policy.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Salazar had said, "Oh well, I'll do it," but I feel that he wanted to make the public feel like he was so oppressed and having to comply with that, because we won't get any money if I don't do it.
And see, if we look at Texas right now,
just said no.
Texas is a red state, but our cities, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Laredo, El Paso, they're all sanctuary cities, and there's been nothing done to stop these sanctuary cities. Funding must be cut off by our governor must say, okay, the funds that I'm getting from the federal government, I'm withholding these funds to these cities due to their sanctuary city status.
Now, I think Governor Abbott has passed some executive orders concerning sanctuary cities, like they shall not exist in the state of Texas.
Yes,
officially.
But the issue we have is we have a mayor like Nirenberg who believes he's above the governor. He believes that the executive order that him and Nelson Wolff passed supersedes the governor's
the same
order.
Thing is going on with the school boards.
Yes.
Only they got the city on their side this time. The school boards with the mask mandates and the vaccines and all that have to recognize that there is a higher authority above them that governs them.
Yeah.
And so I was part of a group that we walked a little girl into a school. She did not want to wear a mask. She was like 10, 11 years old. It was a spectacle, but she was refused entry to the school. She had to walk back away from the school. The principal refused her entry. We got most of that on tape, actually, from one of the groups that I was involved in. But they're being refused. And I've been to one of the school board meetings, and they this is at NEISD. I got some video on that. I should include in the footage of eventually. The superintendent had conceded that it's unenforceable.
Yeah.
NAISD is doing it as of right now, and I think are being challenged or will very soon be sued by the state of Texas. San Antonio School District is on their second suing from the state of Texas. This is all a taxpayer expense, guys.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't have to just comply with the governor's order.
Yeah.
And I blame the school districts for wasting taxpayer money.
Well, so I blame the school districts. I blame our local officials, and I blame our president right now. Our president,
fear-mongering
our
thing.
president has taken matters into his own hands by imposing a vaccine mandate. And we all know in the Constitution it says the person who is in charge of creating a public health order is the state executive.
Like that power is so abused by governor of Michigan that her legislator actually stripped her of her Emergency Act powers because it was being abused so much.
The whole purpose of this vaccine mandate is the federal government wants to control people.
And don't you think they want to control us for as long as possible? That's why COVID's staying around.
Yes.
I don't think if we were under a Trump administration right now, I think it would have been an afterthought.
Yes.
I think we could have gotten back with our lives. Our economy was starting to pick up, and then boom, it just went all to hell.
So, 2 points I want to make on immigration, and then we can.
Sure.
First thing, the Haitians. So part of the reason that the Haitians are coming here is if we remember back when President George W. Bush was in office, Haiti had a massive like earthquake or flood.
Yeah, I remember.
And the Haitians were given TPS, temporary protective status.
Yes.
That TPS had been extended under Bush, had been extended under Obama. And so we were accepting Haitians into the U.S. Now, if you know anything about TPS, it gives you temporary protective status in the United States. Deportation, you avoid.
It's off the table.
It's off the table. You're given a temporary work permit to work in our country while you're here under TPS status. And so part of the reason the Haitians believe we owe them something by them coming here is because of the Clinton Bush Haiti Fund that was created to help Haiti. That the Clinton Bush Haiti Fund, it's what caused Haiti to be corrupt.
Yes, I remember that there's always coups going on in Haiti.
Yes.
And at that time, it was applauded that Jean-Bertrand Aristide became president.
Yes.
At that time, they were applauding him as a more democratic type Haitian president. But that they've been through natural disasters. Their president was assassinated recently. All that happened all at one time.
And I wouldn't be surprised, Randolph, if DHS Secretary Mayorkas gives Haitians TPS status again.
The ones that made it in here.
The ones that have made it in here, or anybody else that comes, because how you avoid them being detained at the border is if you give them temporary protective.
Let me give you a factoid on that, because I did a little research, and of the 10,000, this doesn't add up to exactly 10,000, but roughly about 3,000 of those Haitian immigrants made it into the United States. Roughly about 1,500 were actually sent back to Haiti. Mm-hmm. It's ongoing right now, though.
And this morning, I read an article on Fox News. Those ones that they've deported back to Haiti are coming back.
Oh, they're going to play that game, huh?
Yes, are coming back.
I heard we gave them $100 in cash and a COVID test, and we sent them back to Haiti. So now they're probably going to use that same money to come back to the United States. And
that's to my next point. They're
not going to stop. And then we got the Colombians for 19,000.
We're COVID testing employees. We're COVID testing our citizens here in the United States. But our Border Patrol agents that are on the border, the federal government failed to administer COVID tests to them. They would have to go out and get their own COVID tests on their own dime.
Yeah, so it seems like the illegals are exempt from COVID restrictions. Yes. But they want to be oppressive on the law-abiding American citizen?
Yes.
I don't think so.
And again, this is the agenda of the left. The left wants open borders. Beto O'Rourke, Joaquin Castro, all these Democrats they want open borders because their party has declined of membership. If you remember correctly, back in the early 2000s, in the 90s, the Democrats were the party of the working class man and woman. They believed in working class values. They believed in that kind of stuff, and then it shifted. Now Republicans are for working class men and women. Right. They want to pass laws that benefit us, the taxpayers, versus the politicians. And on the topic of COVID, anybody that comes into this country illegally is not being tested.
They say that they're being tested officially.
Yeah, and I spoke to some former co-workers of mine at that immigration detention center. The whole mission of that facility changed. So it was a facility that housed family units. We kept them there. We went through the whole process with them as far as their court proceedings and stuff. And then under the Trump administration, they're being held indefinitely to go through the whole case.
Right.
Catch and release was not the option. But under Obama and Biden, catch and release is now the option. What they're doing now is
they reinstated and enhanced it.
They're bringing them in by bus. When they get into the intake department, they're testing them for COVID when they get there. If they test positive, they're being sent to the isolation unit at that facility, and that's the only time they're holding them. Other than that, they're only allowed to keep them for 72 hours. After 72 hours, they have to release them, regardless of...
the administration knows this.
Yes, regardless of if there's a bond, if there's a alternative detention. And the thing that kind of would piss me off about working there was when somebody would sponsor these people, the sponsor would not have to be a U.S. citizen. A sponsor could be...
Are you serious?
Yeah. A sponsor could be somebody that has temporary protective status, somebody that is in immigration proceedings right now, we couldn't touch them if they were here unlawfully.
I bet you that happened. And I took many videos of the buses going in, and then people who maybe sponsored these kids that were driving out of the facility. I had some really bad cuss words at me because I was wearing my Trump hat. I do. I'm an American. I can wear what I want.
Yeah.
I had an American flag, and I said, "This is my country."
Yes.
I wanted them to see as they were getting busted. This is my country. A big American flag, because in other words, we're a nation of laws.
Yes, we are. And see, Randolph. The thing is, what the difference between now and then. Back under the Obama administration, Trump administration, politicians would come to our facility every day. Democrats. We had Joaquin Castro leading a group of congressional Democrats to our facility to take a tour. Under Trump, Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon led a team of Senate Democrats to our facility for a tour. But where are they at now?
In my personal opinion, I think it was a photo op to see what's going on.
It was.
Vice President Pence, who I'm not a fan of right now, he actually made a visit to the Obama cages.
Yeah.
And Vice President was right there next to the people that were being in those.
And we fell.
And the press just jumped on that.
We fell to the AOC went to that.
The fake crime.
Yeah. Where's AOC now?
Why don't you go over there now?
Yeah.
Where
was AOC under the Del Rio Bridge?
Most notably, so-called Vice President Harris visited the safest part of the border with
El Paso. Yeah.
Just a little while before she got there was actually a shooting right there.
Yep.
So imagine if there was a shooting right next to the Vice President of the United States. Because they can't do security for the Vice President in Mexico on the other side of the wall. So imagine if the shooting happened during the time she was doing something live, then they would have known, and they would have quashed that. We would have never heard about it, I guarantee it.
Yep.
But they don't want to visit where Brownsville area is at.
Yeah.
And
they don't want to go to the Del Rio sector, the Brownsville sector, the Laredo sector, the Far sector, the Mission sector, any of the other sectors. Didn't want to go to Nogales, Arizona.
There's rumors that Joe Biden in his 47 years
has never been to the border.
Been to the border at all.
Yeah, has never been to the border.
So we have to do some research on that.
And you're the sitting president of the United States. I can't count on my hands how many times President Trump had been to the border.
Well, by the way,
President
Harris
and candidate Trump
only went because President Trump went, and I was I was in the Hannity show in Edinburgh when the president, former President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, went to visit, and it was very shortly after that, or shortly before that, Harris announced, "Okay, I'm going."
Yeah.
Photo op only. She was only there for like an hour or two to refuel, and then say, "Hey, I'm here," and then she took off. So it just stopped. But you know what? I call it the Trump effect.
Yep. And I do believe, Randolph, and I've had a lot of people disagree with me on this issue, but President Trump is going to run in 2024. Yep. He will get reelected again.
I see Trump DeSantis 2024.
Yes. And the reason I say that is because Biden sold a bag of goods to people, and he's not following through. What good thing has he done for our country since he's been in office? He's done nothing. Gas prices are high. Consumer goods are high. The cost of lumber is high. Now he's in this $3.5 trillion budget bill that Bernie Sanders passed, just the Biden budget. He's asking for the IRS to spy on us Americans.
I heard about that.
Taxpayers, our bank accounts. If we have more than $600 in our account, it's grounds for the IRS to audit us. Every American in this country is going to have more than $600 in their account. They get paid.
They know this.
Yes, and this. How can he sit here and talk about spying on us when I watched a part of Hannity Friday, it was Thursday night, and Hannity was talking about that Joe Biden owes $500,000 in back taxes to our country. He from a company that he started, he failed to pay payroll taxes.
Oh yeah.
And Democrats were so fast to jump on Trump about his tax returns.
He's still fighting it,
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
It's like he's out of office. Leave him alone. He's a private citizen now.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe our country, if Republicans do not get in next year, our country is gone.
What my point to the viewers is continue to pray for America. We can make the red, white, and blue. We can make the dignity of, well, I don't have my flag hat on, but the flag that you have, the flag that you have flying in your garage here, that means something to the men and women who have died to preserve freedom, voter integrity, and we are a nation of laws. Let's make that flag mean something, because right now it is being trashed by the liberal left. And the Democrats might as well call themselves what they really are. They're socialists.
Yes.
They just don't want to say it because they get so much money and votes under the Democrat
And
flag.
see, I'm gonna go to a point my father-in-law made. So he's a staunch Republican. He lives in California.
I'm sure that's difficult in
Yeah,
California.
it's very difficult. He says, I'm going to give credit where credit is due to Democrats. Democrats, they'll fight for what they believe in, and it somehow gets accomplished. Republicans won't fight.
They have that problem right here.
Here's the point. Under the Trump administration, Speaker Paul Ryan was in charge of the House. Mitch McConnell was in charge of the Senate. We had control of both chambers of Congress
and
the presidency, and we failed to pass anything that President Trump wanted. I wholeheartedly believe Paul Ryan was put in there by the Democrats to undermine Trump's agenda, because at that time we could have secured funding for the border wall.
Things could have moved at lightning speed.
Yes.
And then the midterms changed everything.
Yes.
But then, let me just remind you, the midterms are going to change something with this next election.
Yes.
Midterms.
So, on that topic, Randolph, I read...
It's so bad, and even Democrats are upset.
I read from 3 different sources, Politico, CNN, and USA Today. I never watch CNN. But,
I don't watch it.
But I read on these 3 articles, they said that in next year's midterm elections, Democrats are slated to lose 41 congressional seats in the House of Representatives.
Oh my goodness.
So that should tell you something.
So
that
they
right
better
now,
enjoy the ride right now, because it's going to get ready to change pretty soon, come November.
And what I'm going to urge to all the viewers and everybody across the U.S., make sure you stand your ground on your beliefs. Make sure if you are running for political office, for any office, the advantage the Democrats have over us, they go into our colleges and try to indoctrinate our young children.
Start with the school boards, the colleges first.
And we need to be 100 steps ahead of them. I believe in order to run a successful campaign, you, the candidate, need to get out and go knock on doors, speak to voters, go to colleges, talk to young voters, show that Republicans have something to offer. Because if we don't get a handle on this, we're going to lose young people to the Democrats.
Yes, that is very true.
Yes, and I would also like to say too, make sure you vote in the midterms so we can turn this country around.
Oh, we definitely
because right now our country's going down a unstable path.
It is,
and it's very scary. Biden's coming after our 401ks. Biden's coming after our retirements. He's coming after our homes. No longer, if we get a house inherited to us from a deceased person, it's called the step up value, where he wants to if I go to sell the house, it would be worth what it was worth when my family first bought it back in the
those values changed.
80s and 90s is what Joe Biden is trying to do.
So in closing, as a fellow precinct chairman, we have our work cut out for us.
We do.
And the Bexar County Republican Party has made it very difficult for me personally as a precinct chairman, a new one, brand new one. I got one training with Joseph Leatherwood, but that was there's a couple cancellations, and then Joseph finally said, okay, we're doing one, and then I went to that one. And then shortly afterwards, we had two more scheduled. The first one was level 3, then there's a level 2 and level 1. Then Joseph Leatherwood was fired from his job, and he was very effective for me as teaching me, and all the others there, the precinct chairman, how to do our job, how to knock on these doors, and get engaged, and how to use the GOP data center. So now, as of right now, we have no person to teach us from the Bexar County Republican Party, and we have no way to complete our training as of right now. So personally, I think we need to find a way. There's a handbook out there, but I mean, it helps to engage with fellow precinct chairmen. So I think that was hijacked from me and others that want to learn about precinct chairmanship and how we can get these people, your neighbors, my neighbors, engaged, and to get them to stay active on the voter registrar.
And see, I think a big part of getting our neighbors engaged is being in constant dialogue with our neighbors. All my neighbors here, him across the street, him across there, and this guy over here, I've discussed current events with them. They're all they read the same book I read.
Right.
Okay? He's a conservative, he's a Republican. They believe in this. And more of our neighbors believe in this, but right now the issue we have is we have the mainstream media corrupting the minds of the American people. We have the mainstream media spinning stories. The mainstream media only reporting on stories that they want to report on.
I want to let you know, since this is the part of town, this is considered the southeast part, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I lived in this area for a few years, a little ways over there by Pecan Valley. The RNC is going to be opening up a community center here on this side of town. It's going to be opening up, I believe, on October 8th to empower people that live in this area, not to be dependent on food stamps, not to be dependent on welfare, but to empower them and give them the tools to succeed and build themselves up. Because the Democrats on the opposite side will probably be the ones that say, hey, sign up for food stamps, sign up for this. We want to empower them. And that's why we're going to have the community center right here.
To be self-sufficient.
To be self-sufficient,
and
contribute to society.
And one thing about living on this,
let's come into your neighborhood.
One thing living on this side of town I've noticed, and I've been living here since October of 2015. This side of town has always been neglected by our mayor and our city council.
Oh yes,
we were stuck here with Rebecca Villagrán. Absolutely the most incompetent city leader I have ever come across.
When I lived in this area town, I knew about that.
On this side of town, we have a crisis, a humanitarian crisis on our hands right now. We have homeless people sleeping on the streets, harassing us people when we're trying to shop at our local stores. So I
used to shop at the HEB Plus.
We have homeless people just taking control of our streets. And when you would reach out to Rebecca Villagrán's office,
non-response.
We have a stray dog problem in this area. Stray dogs are loose. We can't walk our dogs on a pretty day like this without being followed by a stray dog. We have this side of town has been neglected, and now that the newly elected Phyllis Villagrán, who's Rebecca's,
they're keeping it in the familia.
Yes, she's done nothing for this side of town.
That's name association. That's typical with Democrats.
Yes,
let my sister do it. Let my mom do it.
She's done nothing on this side of town.
Sounds like the law about the Castros too. They've been doing
the only person who I'm going to give credit where credit is due is State Senator Roland Gutierrez. Okay, several of my neighbors in this area contacted his office about the homeless. So on 37, when you come down on 37, over in that bush area, the homeless people have went and made encampments over there. and they took over the entire like brush with tents and
Nobody
shopping
can see them,
carts.
so nobody pays attention.
So people kept calling State Senator Gutierrez's office. Kept calling. Finally, he stepped in. They cleared out the entire brush. Chopped down trees. Cleared out the brush.
The property owners should be held to account for that.
Yes, and our state representative was one of the ones who fled to D.C. because of the election. Yeah, Elizabeth Liz Campos.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
She finally had to declare herself a Democrat after running for city council multiple times.
Yeah.
She's nonpartisan.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, she in her tenure as state representative, she's done nothing for this area. She's done nothing. Phyllis Villagrán has done nothing. Our streets here are horrible on our vehicles. When you go down Fairlawn, they're just now, after 5 or 6 years of people complaining about Fairlawn and being unsafe for driving, they're finally straightening it out.
Right.
But it's the roads here, the homeless population here. Crimes are being committed in this area every day. I get on the Nextdoor app, car broken into, some weird person walking up into your driveway.
Yeah, unknown and very dangerous in some cases.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is I wanted to give credit to Natalia Smakovich. She is part of Hispanic Affairs from the RNC, Republican National Committee. And she announced that October 8th they're going to have a community center here that's going to engage all the neighbors here, that some who are victims of identity politics, thinking that just because you're Hispanic you have to be a liberal. No, you don't.
Yep.
And give them the empowerment and the tools they need. And she said that it was very important that it was on this part of town because this is where it's needed the most.
It is.
That'll be under the banner of the RNC.
I will be,
so
and
we're getting some help.
I'll be attending that opening when it opens up, just to see because I believe
this is your precinct.
Yeah, I believe
area.
this side of town has been neglected. Neglected by our, like I said, our incompetent mayor, our incompetent county judges, our incompetent state representative, and our incompetent city council member.
Right.
We're so our mayor and our city council are so hell bent on gentrification, wanting to bring apartments and condos and all this stuff,
brand new stuff.
Yeah,
The people to move out. That
so if we look on this back street back here, there's a golf course over here called Republic Oaks Golf Course. The subdivision on that side of the golf course was built to be a premier community of the golf course. So when people bought their houses over there, they had to pay a easement fee because of the golf course.
Right.
They had a higher HOA fee due to the golf course. And Republic Oaks closed last year. There had been numerous reports that the city was planning to bring Section 8 housing to the golf course.
Yeah, President Trump said if you live out in the suburbs, you deserve to, if you can afford it, then yes. If you worked hard for it, then yeah, you have the right to live away from anything that you are undesirous.
Yes, and so I feel like my wife and I, we just do not like the city of San Antonio, and I know for some who've grown up here, I'm sorry to say that, but the city, it reminds us of where we escaped from in California, because we're originally from California. Okay. We both moved here in 2015 after we got.
Oh, you're fairly new to city.
Yeah, I moved here January of 2015. She moved here May to get away from the identity politics of California, to get away from the failed liberal policies.
And the liberal policies are trying to migrate over here from California.
Well, so and that's where some people don't really look at that. There are people that are moving here that are wanting to get out of California due to the high taxes and that have not voted that way.
Right.
So Newsom wants to keep his voter base there because he wants to give them free stuff. He wants
whose expense?
Yeah, he wants to give them free stuff. And Californians are seeing that. Californians are migrating here, migrating to Tennessee, migrating to Arizona because of the cost of living, because of the freedom that comes with moving to Texas, to moving to Tennessee or Montana or Arizona.
Yeah, we're definitely a state that with rebellion against the current federal administration.
Yes, and I do believe, and one last piece I'll say is, the state of Texas has Convention of States. We need to impose the Convention of States and hold the federal government accountable, because we can secure our border. At the end of the day, the federal government controls the border. The federal government controls that, and if we don't hold them accountable,
they're assert their authority to break the law. Actually,
yes,
that's what they're going to do. It's really sad to see.
Yes, and so what I would like to do,
you can't do this. Only we can do it, but they're not doing it.
Yes, and I'm a big believer of State Representative Kyle Buterman's bill that he introduced in the last session for Texas to succeed.
Okay.
We need to succeed. Our state we can run as our own country here in Texas, because we have
we've done it before. We can do it again.
Yeah, and
we can have naval access.
Yeah,
we
Air
have
Force
mountains,
access.
We have desert. We have beach. We have everything we need.
Yeah, and
we got the heat too.
Yeah, so.
Yes.
But I would like to maybe set another time and date to talk about other issues.
We do a part 2 on this as well.
Because
there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about, especially with what's going on here in Texas right now, with all these new laws coming out and Democrats trying to come and interfere in what we're doing here in our state.
Right. And I really appreciate you allowing me to come to your home to record this. But we're going to bring it to a close. I want to thank you for your time, Kevin.
Thank you, Randolph.
And we're going to continue on these hot topics here on the Uncensored Voice, because this is the news that people either don't hear about or hear false information about.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get my fellow San Antonians involved to say what's going on here right now.
And I would just like to say one thing too. I watch news. I'm constantly researching. I have an open mind, and I don't base my votes off of a politician. I don't base my votes off of some flashy message a politician has. I do my research on my people before I vote. So I urge everybody, if you're going to vote, do your research on the current events. Do your research on the Democrats and what damage they're causing to our country right now.
Nice. Thank you very much, Kevin, for your time. And God bless you, and hopefully we'll be in touch very shortly again. And this is Randolph Pasillas for the Uncensored Voice. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, guys. And remember, I never apologize for being right.
God bless Texas, and God bless the USA.
Amen to that, brother.